To truly begin this journey of transformation, we must ask ourselves the question, who am I? And I'm being frank with you here. I truly want you guys to sit down and think, who am I? And try to answer this question. What would you list off? Would you say your name? Would you say where you were born? Maybe some of your past experiences? But is that truly it? Are we just a summary of our past experiences? Is that all that we are? What's behind our name? What's behind our past? Who is this person that's experiencing this reality? Who is the person that lived those past experiences? Is that the same person that you are today? We must ask ourselves, we are. We must look far deeper than these classroom level introductions as being a way to explain ourselves. And to start this journey, we must first understand what is self. Now, the best way to understand self and to most importantly detach from it is through reading the book, The Untethered Soul. This book teaches you the reality of your identity, showing you that you are not merely a human having a conscious experience, you are a conscious infinite being having a human experience. This book teaches you that the self is something far outside the realm of your human needs, something far outside this small physical reality we experience. This book will also bring insight to your inner roommate. Your inner roommate is simply a way of explaining the small dialogue that constantly goes on inside your own head. You know, the one that is constantly judging things, labeling things, organizing thoughts, and constantly narrating everything that's going on. Usually this voice has a negative nature because our social programming designs it that way. As we go through school, we quickly realize there are good people and there are bad people. There are good actions and there are bad actions. We also learn this through our parents, our religions, but our school system is a pretty big one. At an early age, we are taught to label certain actions and certain thoughts with good or bad. We essentially try to organize our thoughts into certain bins. We analyze them, we judge them, and ultimately when we're in school, we become acutely aware that other people have these judgments about us as well. And this is truly where our inner roommate begins to take control. Some of you might have not even stopped to realize that you have this eternal chatter inside your head. Most of you probably not even realize that this inner dialogue is not a voice of your own. It's a voice that we are merely listening to. This inner dialogue almost always has a negative tone to it, constantly filled with judgment, always sharing negative assumptions, which essentially has us slipping into living a life of fear, scarcity, and doubt. Because our society has trained us to have a negative voice like this, a negative inner dialogue. This inner dialogue is developed through our initiation or our domestication into the social matrix. As a young child, we're put in classrooms, we're told to shut up, we're told that the things that we're interested in don't matter, and we're essentially forced to conform into this reality that they've designed for us. So essentially, this inner roommate is born from our parents' voice. It's born from our teacher's voice. It's born from the religious leader's voice. It's born from the news. And all of these people are kind of combined into one little inner roommate that helps dictate the actions we take, the emotions we feel. And essentially, it tries to govern our actions in order to fit into society. This is a concept that has gone into way more depth in an amazing book called The Four Agreements. Highly encourage you to read it and begin understanding the power behind your words and the power behind agreements. These topics are beautifully explained by the author, Don Miguel Ruiz. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And I would much prefer you learn from him from the source of this information. So please go pick up his book as well as The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. You simply must learn to stop listening to this inner roommate, to stop giving so much weight and so much merit to the inner dialogue and the little voice that just chatters on and on and on, because essentially it's meaningless. Our first ideas might be to try and silence this. We cannot attempt to silence this inner voice. That will only make it much louder. The only thing we can do is stop giving merit to the things that are being said. As the stomach automatically processes food, the mind automatically processes thoughts. You see, we don't need to judge these thoughts. We don't even need to attempt to understand them or label them or organize them. These thoughts are fine as they are. Simply allow them to exist. These thoughts are not a reflection of you because they aren't you. Your true identity lies far deeper than the meaningless chatter that goes on inside your skull. You see, the mind is essentially a receiver. It's practically an antenna that tunes into certain frequencies. There's no value in analyzing these automatic thoughts. You need to understand how to let them flow freely, to simply watch them as if you were watching cars on a freeway, watching as they come and go. Try to be entertained by them. Be a witness to these thoughts. Don't let them trigger emotions within you or get reactions out of you. That's a surefire way to live a reality doomed to your lowest virtues and fears. Your past self has thrown a boomerang that your current self has caught. Your current self is throwing a boomerang that your future self will be forced to catch. Now that we've merely cracked open the door to understanding ourself and our reality, let's dive a little deeper and begin to understand how they are created so we can learn to recreate them through a conscious level. In the next video, I'll be going over how to do this at a neurophysical level, but today we will be doing it at a mental, emotional, and spiritual level. So how is our reality created? Your subconscious is responsible for creating your perceived reality. Our brain receives 11 million bits of data per second from our 5 senses. Yet our mind is only able to process 40 to 60 bits of data per second, meaning in order for our human body to function and for us to understand this reality that we're in, our subconscious needs to filter out through all this information. Our conscious brain can't go through that much information in a second, meaning in order for our human body to function, our subconscious needs to filter out that extra information so the brain can actually process the world around it, which essentially means the reality we perceive is a secondary mental creation designed by our subconscious. Our subconscious essentially creates a mental framework to help us understand the world around us. And this mental framework that's responsible for creating our perceived reality is dictated by 4 key elements: our actions, emotions, belief, and identity. You see, the subconscious is limited to passing data to the conscious mind only if it resonates with our mental framework, meaning you are quite literally boxed into a confined reality based on how you act, how you feel, what you believe, and the identity you've chosen to resonate with. This is infinitely powerful to understand because if you truly understand this concept, you begin to realize that the reality around you can be bent through manipulating these 4 key elements. Ultimately, this is why psychedelics are so powerful. They break you free from that mental framework, from that subconscious filter, and show you the true reality. And now that I've opened the door to the realm of psychedelics, it is honestly my duty and obligation to provide you with some very specific information on the topic. And the first thing I will share with you is beware of unearned wisdom. This topic is insanely in depth. You truly cannot jump into this psychedelic realm without understanding that concept. You need to beware of unearned wisdoms. Truthfully, entering into the realm of psychedelics is not something that everyone should or needs to do, and I'm not recommending them to you in any sense of the way. Psychedelics open doors to information, and sometimes when you receive information you're not ready for, there can be not harsh consequences, but there can be consequences. Ultimately, I don't believe anyone should be messing around with stuff until you're at least over the age of 20. If you're jumping into this journey, it is insanely important to give the utmost respect to the process and what you're doing, and doing it in a conscious manner. Psychedelics aren't a fun part of drug. It is some very serious stuff, and there's a lot of natural healing processes and elements to it, and overall, it is a very beautiful thing, but it needs to be respected. I'm not recommending this, but I do think it's important for me to share my information because this is a topic that I truly resonate with, and psychedelics have done a lot for me in my life and in the path of healing my past. And ultimately, if you're going to jump into something like this, you need to be incredibly respectful. You need to do it in very healthy doses and very safe environments, having someone there to look out for you. Ultimately, before we move on, I want to share that I was very hesitant to add that into the course and speak on a topic like that, but ultimately, I think it's something that's getting more normalized. I think it's a very healthy and normal thing to help you on your healing process and your process of self-realization. And ultimately, I do believe it is something extremely good in life. I am not recommending anyone to do it. If this is not something you resonate with, please only take actions you resonate with in life. Please do research and be insanely respectful of this process. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. So let's get back to the topic at hand. Now that we understand that our subconscious is responsible for creating our perceived reality through our actions, emotions, beliefs, and identity, it's now our job to consciously take over this process, destroying our old self and creating a new identity through bending these 4 key elements, creating a new identity, a new set of beliefs, a new emotional state, and a new set of daily actions. If you're pretty smart, you would have realized that I stated this process backwards, starting with identity. That's because changing your identity is the most impactful thing to changing your reality, followed by belief, followed by emotion, then lastly by action. When we want to recreate ourselves, we must start at the back of the list and work down for changing our identity first. So what is our identity? Your identity is essentially your self-image. It's how your subconscious views yourself. It's based on your past experiences, based on your beliefs, based on your emotions and actions. Your identity is essentially your inner frequency. If your past actions, emotions, and beliefs were at a very low frequency, then your current identity is also at that low frequency. Your sense of identity is almost similar to the level of your character in a video game. If your inner frequency and your sense of identity is at a very low level, it's basically like being a low level on a video game. There's certain weapons you can't equip, there's certain areas you can't go into, there's certain challenges and tasks that you can't accomplish, certain monsters you can't defeat until you begin to level up. This is ultimately why your identity is the most powerful tool when it comes to changing your reality or your outer world. Next, in the level of importance, we have beliefs. And beliefs are a huge factor when it comes to dictating the reality you experience. If you have the belief that money is hard to make, that money is the root of all evil, then you can find yourself into that box where that's true. Your subconscious is going to reflect that reality. You are going to begin to see more reasons and more reasons of why those statements are true, because the mind likes to confirm your beliefs to you, meaning that out of those 11 million bits of data, your subconscious is going to filter through the data points that prove that to be correct. And that is what's going to be presented to your conscious mind. This is why your belief system is an intensely strong tool that helps us create this external reality we experience. Ultimately, that's why this matrix reality that we live in uses tools that affect and change our beliefs. Religions started as beautiful frameworks of spiritual guidance, but nowadays it seems like almost all of them have been taken over and used as divisive systems to control the masses. Now, this is my personal view. I will never ever knock someone's religion, and I truly do have the utmost respect for whatever you believe and whatever religion you're a part of. But this is truly how I feel. And if you read the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, you'll see how it's pretty fair to come to a conclusion like this. Again, I have the utmost respect for everyone and their religious beliefs, but I do think it is extremely essential to challenge your beliefs, to put them to the test and ask yourself some extremely hard questions, because your belief system is essentially the keystone towards creating your outer world, towards creating that perceived reality. Whatever you believe, you perceive. The only reason that your identity is stronger than your belief system is because your identity is essentially belief systems about yourself. Your belief systems usually address the outer world, but your identity is your set of belief systems about yourself, and your inner world always comes first. Your inner world always dictates your outer world. It's not the other way around. So that's why it makes your identity the most powerful. Next on the list, we have your emotions. Emotions are also extremely powerful when it comes to creating your reality. Your emotions are basically the expression of your identity, expression of your belief systems. They are an expression of your inner frequency. Your emotions are a really big key sign to where your inner frequency lies. Pay extremely close attention to the emotions you feel throughout your day. Your emotions are echoes of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your identity. Emotions should be taken extremely seriously, and they should be understood, protected, and monitored. If you're constantly feeling certain emotions throughout your day, it's ultimately a sign of what actions you should take moving forward in your life. You see, your intuition is tied in with your emotions, your gut feeling. And truthfully, this is a very sacred thing. Personally, in my perspective and in my beliefs, I think our emotions, intuitions, and thoughts are tools used by our higher self or God or the universe to help guide us through life. They are extremely powerful, and a man who can master his own identity, his own beliefs and emotions, is far more powerful than you could ever imagine. Lastly, on our list, we have actions, which might surprise some people, hearing that actions are actually one of the lowest ranking things in dictating our reality. It seems like everyone in the outer world kind of teaches that your actions are the biggest thing that affect your reality, your future. But it could be farther from the truth. Action is a physical element within our reality, which is ultimately really low. Our identity, beliefs, and emotion are something that transcend just the physical realm, ultimately making them more influential in dictating our reality. Although actions are the lowest ranking, they are still extremely important. It's going to be nearly impossible to live a high-frequency life, to have high-frequency emotions, high-frequency beliefs, and identities if you're doing these very low-frequency actions, succumbing to your lowest virtues and really listening to your instinctual animal mind. falling into addictions, not being able to control yourself. Basically, if you're not controlling your actions, your subconscious is controlling them for you. You'll be listening to your monkey mind, as monks like to call it, and ultimately your reality wouldn't really reflect anything high frequency if you were able to control your actions. In the next video in this module, we are going to go very in depth on how to take control of our daily actions. But before we move on, I want to go over one more topic that really ties in with our daily actions, and that is our standards. Our standards are essentially a line drawn in the sand of actions that we will do and actions that we will never do, emotions that we will allow and emotions we will allow, beliefs we will fall in line with and beliefs we will never fall in line with, identities that we choose to resonate with and identities that we will never resonate with. Your standards are essentially a self-confining line around your inner and outer worlds, stating the limits of things you will and won't do. Essentially, your standards are a direct reflection of who you are, your identity, your inner frequency, the level of your character. Remember how we talked about everything regressing to the mean? The mean is your standard. Your standard is the bottom line of what things you'll let fly and what things you won't. So ultimately, if you have a low standard, you allow yourself to fall in love with shitty people. You allow yourself to do drugs and watch porn. You allow yourself to become fat and lazy, skip the gym and play video games all day and detach from your purpose and goals, all in the name of feeling comfortable. You see, truly everything is in your control. You dictate your own inner world, which is actively reflecting what your outer world is. So it is your responsibility to set your exact standards, and these standards need to be non-negotiable. You truly need to commit the rest of your life to whatever standards you set for yourself. You need to make sure that these standards embody the future person you want to become. And in the next video, we'll go more in depth on our standards and show you how to break out of the current ones you have and create. I also want to go into the winner effect. You see, your life is a reflection of your standards, a reflection of your daily actions, emotions, beliefs, and identity. That's why it is insanely important to create what's called the winner effect. The winner effect is essentially your resume of small victories showing that you're the one in control, showing that you are able to do the things that you set yourself out to do. The winner effect is essentially a resume of all your small victories in the past. As you're starting out on your journey of self-improvement, no matter where you're starting, it's important to have these small victories to show yourself that you're the one in control, to show yourself that you can set standards and live by them. This builds up a higher level of self-identity. It's kind of like training your character in the video game. If you can show yourself that you are the person you think you are and you are the person you want to become, this is what's going to build up your winner effect. Over the years, you're going to be able to accomplish larger and larger actions, work for larger periods of time, get past larger obstacles, which overall just fuel back to your sense of identity and really kind of set in stone that you are the person you think you are. It's really important to build up that resume of wins, to celebrate those wins and really give gratitude to them and make sure that you let them kind of fuel into your identity, showing yourself that you're truly worthy of the identity desire and the reality you desire. I also want to touch on sacrifice. Sacrifice is a huge key to any level of success, really. If you don't sacrifice for the things you desire, the things you desire become the sacrifice. Look, guys, in the end of the day, we are the ones responsible. It is your job to cut negative things out of your life, to make these key sacrifices in order to achieve what you desire. Cut out bad friends, cut out bad habits, cut out everything that is taking away from your energy, from your time, anything that takes away from that future self and that future reality you want to live. Again, these are some concepts we'll go over in the next video, but it's very important for you guys to understand that sacrifice is not only a necessary part of this journey, it is an absolutely essential part of any level of success. If you truly want to see success, you must be ready to sacrifice. So now that we understand what creates our reality, it's time to take control and create that new reality and that new identity, that new sense of self, that new set of beliefs, that new frequency of emotion, and new set of standards for our actions. We're going to do this through a vision board and an affirmations journal, which I know doesn't sound too manly, fun, or cool. Your vision board is essentially going to be a collection of images and words that resonate with this newfound identity. It's important to have very impactful images, very impactful words on here that will help you align with this new sense of self and this new reality you're trying to create. Essentially, we want to be able to look at this vision board and have it help us raise our frequency to align with our future self and our future goals we're trying to achieve. And the first thing we want to put on this vision board is our exact goal. This exact goal also needs to be backed by an exact date that we want to achieve it. I can promise you that the universe wants to help you through your process of finding success. The essential goal behind everything in the universe is growth and expansion. So it's ready to help you on this path. But the universe likes exact precision. It wants to know exactly what you want and when you want it. So it can aid you and help you on the process of bringing your dream into your physical reality. So the first thing we're going to do is write our exact financial goal and back it with an exact date we want to achieve it by. For example, I will make $10,000 by and put in a certain day of your choice. You also want to break down how much sales, how much revenue you're going to need to get in order to make that a reality. So here's the breakdown for you. To profit $10,000 a month, you will need $50,000 revenue each month at a 20% profit margin. $50,000 a month in revenue is $11,600 each week. $11,600 each week will be $1,666 in revenue each day. Also, keep in mind, if you're crushing it on TikTok organic, your margin will be way higher than 20%. Number two, now that we know our exact financial goal, it's important to list some other key components of our future reality and our future self. Certain things like, where will I live? How will my body look for fitness goals? What car will I drive? What people will I be around? How will I feel? Who will I help? What freedoms will I enjoy? What new opportunities will open up to me? What clothes and aesthetics will I have? The key here is to think of an entire future environment. Really picture the lifestyle that will be unlocked by achieving this goal. Create a mental landscape of what that future will look like, and then go find images and words that resonate with it so you can visually put it on the board to be seen every single day. Number three, you really need to find inspirational images that touch the heart and soul. This one's really important. You need to simply look at your board and see these images and feel a very big sense of motivation and excitement for achieving these goals. Here's some examples of how you can find images like this. What are your favorite movies? What are your favorite scenes in certain movies? What are your favorite movie characters? What are your favorite celebrities or people who motivate and inspire? Find images that tell a deep story that resonates with you. Are there any moments in history that resonate with your soul? Think of any story, any trial someone's had to face, any obstacle someone's overcame. Think back to your childhood. Think to the things you've gone through. What motivates you? Ultimately, here's some examples of images that I really resonate with and things that kind of motivate me. Avatar: The Last Airbender was a show that really defined kind of like my identity and beliefs and a lot of things that I resonate with. And it was something I was exposed to at a really young age. And ultimately, seeing Aang made me feel like I was the Avatar, made me feel like I was Aang, like I had this specialness to me, that the world relied on me, like I was the bridge from the physical world and the spiritual world, just like him. And ultimately, just who Aang is something I try to embody. And this show, I just can't even explain the impact this show had on me. I really like the Sun Warriors episode where Aang and Zuko have to hold the fire and take it up to the masters, which ultimately like two dragons fly out and show them the truth behind firebending. And that scene, I don't know why it impacted me so much. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I literally have hands holding fire to represent that moment. That's how much I love that episode. It's also going to be hard to tell, but that is Southern Air Temple where Aang was born, and I have that in the vision board as well. Ultimately, I can't explain how much this show means to me. These like golden scenes of Aang's past, and I don't know, man, just the storytelling, everything behind it hit me on such a deep level. I also really liked the anime Sword Art Online, mainly the first season with Kirito and his storyline of being stuck in that video game. And I don't know, my entire youth from second grade all the way to now basically too has been very taken over by video games. And just that storyline, like the character Kirito really reminds me of Aang. And I truly view life as like a video game that we're all a part of. And I don't know, that show just resonated with me on a very deep level. Jay Alvarez, just as a human being, and like the tattoos he has been such a huge inspiration. His videos in like 2014 and 15 really struck a chord with me and kind of showed me how much the world has to offer, and really killed a lot of limiting beliefs within me of like certain things you can achieve at certain ages. And just his overall aesthetic and outlooks on life were something that I really resonated with, so much so that I hunted down his tattoo artist just to get a style similar to his. Ultimately, we also have some travel stuff up here. I've always wanted a Lamborghini ever since I was young, so I threw that in there. I really want to visit Dubai and just travel the world as much as I can, and I really like the aesthetics of really like high quality homes and buildings, and I really want to live in some sort of like high rise apartment that is very minimalistic and futuristic. And then down here we have a building that I would love to own for my company Void Energy, which I have ultimately had to put on pause, which sucks due to the upcoming recession. So in order to best safeguard my wealth, I realized that it's probably not smart to open up one of the riskiest business models during a imminent recession. So that's on pause for right now, but that's something that I would love to do, is own my own building. On my actual vision board, I have the Void Energy logo of the company kind of made here on Photoshop. Yeah, ultimately, these are images that really strike a chord in me and really motivate me and excite me about the future. Next, we have some different words. So I have obsessed up here, destined, patient, faith, I will never give up, I am worthy, 100,000 profit a month, that is a goal for me, abundance. And ultimately, these are words that I kind of need to hear and things that I need to embody to reach the goals that I have personally. So putting words like that on your board are very, very impactful. Which leads us into number 4, you need to figure out some words for your vision board. Put together a list of words that you think explain the person that you're going to have to become, explain the level of reality you will be experiencing, things that you can look at your vision board and really feel and get excited about. Now let's quickly jump into how to make this vision board. The first thing you need to do is locate what type of board you want to make. I have all of mine on cork boards. You can see the one right there and the 2 right there, but you can essentially draw on anything. You could put just pictures blank on the wall. You could grab a whiteboard and just put them up with magnets. You could just tape images onto a mirror. It doesn't really matter what your board is. The main thing is it needs to be really close to your computer where you're going to be working so you can see the board daily. I'll show you guys real quick. We have 3 right there, 1 more right there, then 2 over there, and 1 up there. Essentially, my entire office is surrounded by them, so I can't really escape them. And anytime I'm feeling down or discouraged, I can just look at them and kind of erase an arrow frequency. So once you've located your board, you need to figure out exactly where it's going to go inside your board. The next step is locating the images you want to put on it and set up all the text and really just organize everything so you can print it all out, cut them up, and put it on board. The easiest way to do all this is going to canva.com. Ultimately, we're going to be using Canva for the entirety of our e-commerce journey. It's a $12 subscription each month, but I promise you it's worth every single cent. Canva is an absolute necessity through this course. We first need it to design our vision boards. We will then be using it for logo designer and tons of other things moving forward. Below this video in the description, I have an affiliate link that should give you an extended free trial. So make sure you click that link. It is also an affiliate link, so it does help me out, and I really appreciate it. Canva has a ton of images in its own library and a ton of amazing fonts. So you should be able to find almost everything you need there. When it comes to images, you can also use Google Images or unsplash.com to find more kind of aesthetic, higher quality images. Now, this next part's important. You need to find your board and grab a piece of paper and hold it up next to the board to see the relative size of a piece of paper and how it will fit on the board. Let me show you. So right here, we have my vision board and a piece of paper next to it. Ultimately, when we jump into Canva, we need to create a design template that's the same size as paper. So when we're on Canva, we can grab our images and put them on this piece of paper to understand how big they're going to be when they actually come onto the board. This is really going to help you design the board with perfect dimension sizes to understand how everything's going to look and really assemble something that looks aesthetic. It is important though to put more images than you and more text phrases than you need, just in case when you print stuff out, if the sizes don't really work, you have more images to throw in if there's any empty spaces you need to fill. Next, to print out these images, you can either do it at your house or go to CVS. They have a really high quality image printer, but I think it's kind of expensive. So you can also go to like Office Max or Office Depot. You can just look up the store email or like call a local store, ask them for their email, send them over your Canva designs and tell them you want that printed out in the highest quality paper they have. Next, if you need to hang up your board, you need to get these Velcro strips. These 3M command strips are really good. They can hold up to 16 pounds in weight. What's good about it is there's a sticky side that sticks to the wall and a sticky side that sticks to your board, and then you can Velcro them together like this, meaning you can take your board off, bring it back down, switch out the images anytime you want to kind of upgrade your board, and then just Velcro stick it back onto the wall. Now that our vision board is done, let's jump into our daily affirmations journal. This is going to be a very important part of every single day moving forward. Every morning, you're going to sit down for 10 minutes in front of your vision board, conjuring up the emotions. This was your current reality. How would you feel? Conjuring up emotions of gratitude and appreciation, acting as if this vision board reality is your current reality now. You want to act as though you've already achieved everything on this board, feeling that level of gratitude towards yourself for achieving it and towards the universe, God, or your higher self for helping you on your path to achieving that reality. If you set in front of your vision board for 10 minutes each day doing this, this will quite literally raise your frequency to the exact level of that reality, of these goals. And we know if our inner world frequency is high, then our outer world has to align with it. This will essentially speed up the process of your dreams becoming a reality. After we've done that for 10 minutes, it's really important to pull out the affirmation journal. And we want to write down affirmations and statements that resonate with our newfound self and our newfound reality. Writing down statements like this and putting them out into the universe is extremely powerful. You can do them verbally as well as you write them, but these statements should be a direct reflection of your future self and the reality you're trying to create. Here is a list of example statements you could write in your journal each day. I am worth $10,000 a month profit. I'm so grateful I achieved my exact goal on the exact day. I put in work and stayed diligently focused on my dreams and goals, bringing them to reality. I operate at a frequency 20 times higher than others around. I am strong, smart, and perfectly equipped with every tool I need for success. Others feel my frequency when they are around me, and it inspires and uplifts them too. Others look at me for guidance and help. I bring light and happiness to everything around. I am worthy. I will achieve. I am the master of my own fate. Each morning, you need to be sitting in front of your vision board for 10 minutes and spending 10 minutes on your affirmation journal. There's no rules to the things you write, but they need to be statements that you personally resonate with and you think embody that future self and future goal. Lastly, before we wrap this video, let's talk about some practical life changes you can make to help you resonate with this new self and new reality. The best thing you can do is start changing your environment. Start going to fancy restaurants. Start treating yourselves to things you usually wouldn't. You need to stop focusing on scarcity and lack. Stop looking at price tags. Stop limiting yourself to the realities you can experience. You need to start focusing on abundance. This is our time to take action and to show ourselves that we are worthy of this change, to show ourselves that we are in control, that we can actively break out of this old identity, assume a new one, and start living in this new environment, this new reality that we are going to actively create consciously. It's important to match these inner world changes with outer world experiences. Obviously, only do things that are within your means that you can afford to do, but if you're truly trying to level up, it's very important to show yourself that you're worthy of leveling up, that you can spend money on yourself. It's really important to cultivate that new environment. Go to that fancy restaurant once a month. Go look at a fancy new car on the dealership. Go look at new clothes and designer stores if that's something you're interested in. Go drive around really nice neighborhoods and imagine what it would be like to live in these houses. Start setting your frequency higher. Start setting your focus and start aiming higher. Imagine all these things are yours already. The only thing that's truly separating you and them is time. The moment you change your inner frequency, these things become yours instantly. The only reason they are yours in this exact moment is because it takes time for the outer world to bend to your will and match with your newly set standards. Guys, money is all around. Millions of dollars are in circulation every second. Spend some time tapping into what that means. See money up close, see wealth up close, see abundance, feel abundance. You guys need to understand that there's people making millions of dollars a month. You making $10,000 a month with your e-commerce store isn't even a drop in the bucket of the amount of wealth that's out there. Promise you, you can do this. It's very important to hold this new identity, this new reality, and this new future very close to your heart. You need to baby it, nurture it, and protect it at all costs. Remember, it's okay to feel disconnected from these things, to feel discouraged, to feel low frequencies. It's okay to feel unworthy at times. But in those moments, you need to sit down with your vision board and you sit down with your affirmations journal and charge back up your frequency. Charge up your actions, charge up your emotions, your beliefs, and your sense of identity. Remember that life always ebbs and flows, but you are always able to control your reality and get back on the path. Anytime you're truly feeling down and discouraged, close your eyes and picture your future self in 10 years. They have accomplished everything that you set out to accomplish. Imagine they kneel down to you and lend a helping hand, lifting you up towards your goals, inspiring you and showing you that you can do it. Your future self is always there to lend a hand to you. In all honesty, they probably love you more than you love yourself in this exact moment. They're truly there to call on them anytime. No one will ever have your back like your future self will. Also, feel free to do this with your past self. One of the most powerful things that happened to me throughout my experience in going to counseling was the counselor told me to envision my past self going through all these traumas, going through these horrible events that I was there to witness, and told me to imagine my current self now going and hugging and helping and being there for my younger self. And truly, we did like a full meditation. We did this whole thing, and that was a very big breakthrough for me. And it's also very strong to be able to do that with your future self. Picture your future self that's achieved this, coming down and helping you on this path, because I promise you guys, anything that you can achieve in your mind, you can achieve in your reality. And time is non-existent. That future self is there to help you. You can call on them. That's truly something. Also, feel very open and free to communicate your struggles and issues and any downtimes within the community. We will always be there for you and have your back. Remember to stay away from pessimistic views coming from a place of negativity and just outright complaint. We always want to share our experiences in a positive light, but it's truly okay to express your emotions, to express how you feel and where you currently are in life. You're always welcome to express your situation. I just want to make sure it comes from an optimistic viewpoint. And ultimately, guys, that wraps up this video. It was extremely long. I've been filming for an hour and 44 minutes already, but I want you guys to understand that everything I've shared with you is food for thought. These concepts truly are seeds. Once they are planted, they can take growth and really teach you a lot about life. Let these ideas, perspectives, and thoughts teach you over the next couple of months. Apply this information to different moments, letting that seed of understanding take root and grow into something beautiful. You'll be mind blown at the amount of insight and open doors for you on the path towards achieving the future you desire. Here are your actions. Read The Untethered Soul and the Four Agreements. Create a new set of standards. Cultivate your winner effect by staying true to yourself, remaining disciplined, and practicing your new set standards. Create your vision board. Purchase a daily affirmations journal. Start creating a new environment for your newfound identity. Clean your room. Rearrange things. Set a new stage for yourself as the main character in this movie of life.
All right, so we just took an extremely tiny glimpse into the rabbit hole of spirituality. I know those videos must have seemed really long, but I promise we barely scraped the top of the iceberg. But now that we slightly understand how our inner world works and how our outer world functions with the 7 universal principles, it's now time to connect our inner world and our outer world together, taking full control, aligning our actions, emotions, beliefs, and identity together towards our goal for massive success. We're going to be accomplishing all of this through one little chemical in our brain, and that is dopamine. So what is dopamine? You've probably heard about it before, but don't really understand the full extent of it. Dopamine is essentially a navigational chemical in our brain. Dopamine is designed with one single purpose in mind: to help you navigate and take certain actions and go towards certain directions in life. Dopamine essentially programs your subconscious mind and primes it towards what actions you should take. It does this through rewarding certain actions with large spikes of dopamine, and the feeling of dopamine and hitting a large spike of dopamine is essentially feeling a large sense of pleasure and fulfillment. This process is essential to nature in ensuring that the action of an individual aligns with the best actions to take for the further evolution of the species. Here is an example. A fox is hungry, so it searches for food. After hours of hunting, it kills a rabbit. As it's eating the rabbit, the brain rewards it with a huge spike of dopamine. Another example, there's a male fox attracted to a female fox. They mate, and their brain rewards both of them with large spikes of dopamine. The reason I brought that up is because food and sex are the primary example of a natural dopamine release. The brain releases this chemical as it realizes that this action further evolves the species as a whole. Through rewarding the animal with this large dopamine spike, the subconscious realizes that if it keeps doing these actions, it will keep getting those dopamine spikes. Since animals obviously have lower levels of consciousness than us, it's very important that dopamine can be released to help them navigate which decisions to take throughout life. But the most important part is it's getting the animal to repeatedly take these actions. Usually any task that rewards a large amount of dopamine is a pretty challenging and hard task to achieve or accomplish. That is why the brain provides this huge spike of dopamine. It essentially acts as a motivation for the animal to do hard tasks, knowing that it's going to get that dopamine spike at the end. The brain provides this dopamine spike as basically a huge chemical form of motivation that ultimately allows the animal to accomplish impossible tasks. It will go through physical pain, hunt for hours, and do anything it takes to get that dopamine hit. Ultimately, tasks that it probably wouldn't do if it wasn't subconsciously programmed to understand that the dopamine reward will be at the end. And since humans are glorified animals, we have the same process ingrained in us. And honestly, we would not have the reality we know today if nature didn't somehow create this process. Over the years, as humanity started to evolve, scientists started understanding dopamine and really doing research on how this process works. Scientists began hooking up devices to rats' brains that would stimulate their dopamine receptor if they took a specific action. Essentially, they created a little button, and anytime the rat would go over and push it, it would get a huge spike of dopamine. To their surprise, the rat became completely obsessed with hitting that button. It would ignore its food, it wouldn't drink water, it would go through electrical currents, it would walk over painful objects just to hit the dopamine button. There was almost nothing they could do to stop this rat from running towards the button and hitting it. And of course, through the years, corporations got their hands on this information and began creating products and services geared solely towards stimulating our dopamine receptors, and over the years, eventually being able to create nearly perfect dopamine releasing systems. TikTok is probably the best example of this. Truthfully, the algorithm that runs TikTok will go down in human history as the most powerful and effective dopamine releasing system humanity has created so far. Essentially, every business you can name utilizes this information to get you coming back to their products and services over and over and over again. Just like the rat sacrificing your future success, your money, your time, your freedom, sacrificing relationships, and basically anything just to get your hit of dopamine. With porn, fast food, drugs, video games, social media, movies, TV shows, the list basically goes on forever. You see, dopamine was designed to be released after accomplishing a huge, challenging task, like hunting or finding a mate. Now you can simply get huge dopamine spikes by reaching in your pocket and grabbing your phone. This is ultimately what allowed our species to evolve into a fat, lazy, confused, unsatisfied mess we're in today. And essentially, we're programmed into this kind of dopamine slavery at a very young age, basically through our unconscious parents who string us along into all these unhealthy behaviors that are basically just social norms at this point. Think of what you would do as a child before going to school. You'd probably eat your sugary, horrible breakfast of like Eggo waffles or cereal, and you were probably watching cartoons the same time you were eating that breakfast. From a young age, our dopamine receptors are rewarded for behaviors that take zero effort. As this kid is eating his sugary-filled breakfast, he's getting hit with a huge spike of dopamine. That's because sugar is hard to find in nature, so when an animal would find it, they would get hit with a huge spike of dopamine. But nowadays, all you have to do is go downstairs, open up some plastic packaging, and get hit with the same amount of dopamine that an animal would get hit with after days of hunting. Plus, meanwhile, this kid's watching cartoons as he eats this sugary food. Meanwhile, the cartoon is programming him with whatever agenda the media company's throwing at him. But also, when you're watching shows, you kind of subconsciously view yourself as the character. So if the character accomplishes something, you get dopamine releases as well. Ultimately, you get the point. It's pretty easy to see that in our modern world, we're almost doomed to live a life of dopamine slavery, trained to succumb to our lowest virtues and values in order to get our dopamine hit. As we grow older, it turns into drug use, porn addiction, and we slowly progress into worse and worse behaviors, searching for the easiest path to dopamine. The more you do these instant gratification-based actions, the less dopamine is rewarded each time, which essentially forces us to walk down this breadcrumb path to hell. And being woken up to information like this is not too fun. It has a pretty dark nature, realizing that our entire society is built off systems like this. To realize that systems like this were consciously created by others. Realizing that the true people in power in this world want mindless slaves who are distracted by their own primal urges, who are too dumb to question anything, and ultimately just people who accept reality and will work to just simply survive. But with all that being said, essentially no one is to blame for your reality but yourself. Greed will always take over people, companies will always optimize for the most profit, and governments will always want mindless citizens, or it creates too much of a problem for them to manage everyone. At the end of the day, you own your own inner world. No one can take that from you. No company, no system, no government, or any amount of dopamine can take over your inner world and sway you to take actions you don't want to take, unless you allow your actions, emotions, beliefs, and identity fall into resonation with statements like, I'm addicted to X, I'm not an overachiever, I don't have what it takes, I'm depressed, I've always been like this, I can't change. You see, ultimately, words are spells that create your own reality. The thoughts you think and the words you speak quite literally cast spells around you. Why do you think it's called spelling? Ultimately, this is why I've gone so deep with explaining your inner world, so I could present you with this idea today and we could ultimately come to this conclusion together. You are the one that's in control of your life. You're simply not limited by anything. Some of you might believe you're depressed. Maybe you've even been diagnosed. Maybe you take medications. Maybe someone told you you have a chemical imbalance in your brain and you're doomed to live a life of depression. That all you can do is take mind-numbing medications to hopefully manage it for the rest of your life. And maybe you agreed. Maybe you allowed that information to resonate with you. Maybe you allowed that statement to creep into your identity. Maybe it took hold of your belief system. Maybe it took power over your emotions and started affecting your daily actions. You see, the most powerful way to control someone is through changing their identity. Can you see how just accepting one identity statement ends up with you being fully controlled by it? If you align your identity with something and your beliefs fall in line with that identity, then your emotions are governed by it, and then ultimately changing your daily actions, completely boxing you into the reality of whatever identity statement you resonated with. If you don't want to feel depressed, you simply cannot identify yourself as someone with depression. I think ultimately a lot of people in our society have allowed themselves to resonate with statements that limit themselves, that give out the control that they naturally have as an individual. I think a lot of people in our society have also fallen victim to millions of different sources of dopamine, becoming completely addicted to them, and pushing that dopamine button has become their only sense of fulfillment in life, accomplishing nothing, searching for the easy way out, hoping to become rich with minimal effort, subconsciously thinking that true fulfillment can come as easy as all their addictive forms of instant gratification. Everyone is used to receiving fulfillment in a blink of an eye. Everyone has such a low expectation of what it takes to feel real fulfillment and success in life. Let's think about video games. Through a couple minutes or hours of hard work on a video game, you can level up your character, get access to new weapons, rank up, and make tons of money inside the game, reaching all sorts of levels of fulfillment through easy-to-reach dopamine releases that the game developers consciously designed to keep you addicted to their game. The game of life doesn't have these little breadcrumb paths to dopamine that easily allow you to feel dopamine and senses of fulfillment without conscious mental activity. In life, you can put months or years of work into something without a single milligram of dopamine being released, having almost nothing to show for your successes. Life is on a scale 1,000 times larger than these video games, than these TikTok algorithms, sugary food, and porn sites. An animal will hunt for days on end, working their asses off just to simply eat to get their dopamine release. Meanwhile, all we have to do is go through a McDonald's drive-thru, and we're still pissed if we have to wait 5 minutes in line to get our sugary, saturated, empty carb piece of shit meal that releases 10 times the dopamine that the animal would receive through a full day of hunting. So if we want to break free from a lifetime of social programming and dopamine addiction, the best thing we can do is a dopamine detox. Dopamine detoxes are a huge and absolutely essential component for success. If you're living in a reality that even slightly mirrors the one we've been talking about this whole time, then one of the most beneficial things you can do is rewrite your story and recreate yourself on your own terms. I thought it would be perfect to bring up the topic of dopamine detoxing once we went over all the inner world work, explaining the vision boards, the daily affirmations, so we can now utilize the last keystone, the last nail in the coffin to finalize our success and truly create the lives we desire. So what is a dopamine detox? A dopamine detox is essentially the process of rewriting your brain through reprogramming your dopamine receptors. We do this by cutting out all forms of instant gratification. Essentially anything that has the ability to spike your dopamine without requiring a ton of work needs to be completely cut out of your life. Then we replace these old dopamine habits with new real habits that give us a real sense of dopamine. Essentially, if we do this properly, we can only receive dopamine through accomplishing long-form tasks or overcoming large challenges. This will give us a natural, real sense of dopamine and get us away from all this synthetic dopamine bullshit that's produced through these addictive-based systems, products, and services that ultimately turn us into consumption slaves. Basically, there's two people in life. We have consumers and we have Almost everyone in our society is a consumer. They are mindless drifters, modern-day slaves, dopamine addicts with one goal in mind. While on the other hand, we have the path less traveled, we have the producers. People who create things, people who live life intentionally and consciously, people who live in line with their purpose and passion, essentially people who receive dopamine through healthy and real sources, people who receive fulfillment based on their conscious actions and efforts. These are the people we want to become. So here's how we do it. We're going to be cutting out every form of instant gratification we possibly can. Things like video games, porn, junk food, music, social media, movies, TV shows, drugs, alcohol, and replace all these bad habits with new healthy ones that actually give us a real sense of fulfillment and achievement. Things like working out, meditating, eating healthy, working towards a specific goal, something that's on our vision board, actively working towards that, reading, yoga, stretching, or just simply setting out in nature. Through this process, you quite literally reroute all your chemical and neural pathways within your brain and body. By cutting off every form of instant gratification, we naturally can only be rewarded with dopamine through delayed gratification, through actually accomplishing things that get us towards the life we want and the person we want to become. Here's the secret. Dopamine has to be produced. You can't turn off dopamine ever. The only thing you can do is change the direction that dopamine is pointing towards. Remember, I called it the navigational chemical? Dopamine is essentially a compass, and all of your compasses are pointing down the path towards hell. Through instant gratification, meaning you literally don't have to work towards anything in life. Dopamine is simply spawned out of thin air by going through a drive-thru or sitting on your phone. And once everything in life is handed to you, that's when things can begin to turn dark. If you have zero challenges in your outer world, you begin to create challenges in your inner world. This is because as human beings, we are naturally designed for progress. Dopamine must be released. We must work towards bettering ourselves for the improvement of the entire species. This is why dopamine is here. This is the essential purpose of dopamine. So if we have zero stimulation from our outer world, the mind starts creating problems for you to solve. You start getting faced with challenges and tasks in your inner world just so you can reach levels of dopamine by solving these problems in your inner world. So if there's no stimulation from your outer world, the mind starts creating problems you can solve so you can get your hits of dopamine. You start getting faced with challenges and tasks in your inner world, which is completely unnecessary. You don't need that in your life. Mental issues only manifest when you have zero sense of stimulating work in your outer world. Let me say that again. Mental issues only manifest when you have zero stimulating work in your outer world. Now, that statement opens the door to a 6-module course itself and a large list of a ton of other things. But I want to simply leave it at this. A dopamine detox is an essential part of success. You must break the tie from being an unconscious consumer and migrate into the lifestyle of the producer, the creator, the conscious and intentional being. Here is my exact protocol for a full-fledged dopamine detox. You will have to follow this protocol for 1 week with 0 exceptions. Here's my protocol. No porn and masturbation, no alcohol or drugs, no breakfast, you must do intermittent fasting, no unhealthy or processed bullshit foods, no mindless entertainment through social media, movies, TV shows, YouTube, none of it. You must work out every single weekday, even if it's just for 30 minutes. You must drink as much water as you can each day. I try to do a gallon every single day. You don't have to do a gallon, but I really advise it. You must meditate for 10 minutes each day. You must journal your thoughts and feelings for 10 minutes each day. And you must read 10 pages a day. You must work towards your desired goal for 2 hours each day. So that would be our drop shipping store trying to get the $10,000 profit a month. You must get 8 to 9 hours of sleep each day. You must spend 30 minutes outside, even if it's just sitting in grass or going for a mindless walk. This one's a hard one. You can't listen to music the entire week. You also must adapt into cold showers. You can do a normal shower, but you have to turn it to cold at the end of the shower at least. And try to get into taking full cold showers if you can. And lastly, you must have absolutely minimal phone time, no more than 1 to 2 hours a day. And try to keep all of your tasks on your phone and on your computer as organized, conscious activities that are going to progress you to become the person you want to become. Now, I know that protocol is absolutely insane, and for doing that for a full week is honestly one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Anything you've been avoiding in your life must be addressed at this time. Since you will have a large amount of new free time, since you have no distractions anymore, you have the time to explore yourself, to explore your reality, and to explore the things you've been running from your entire life through distractions. Most of us don't even realize the things we're running from through avoidance, distractions, and instant gratification. So when these things are gone, you essentially see an entirely new side of yourself, your mind, your actions, your reality, everything. It's almost like you gain a new level of consciousness that you've never had before. This is your time to heal, to kill your old self, to solve problems, and actively recreate yourself through conscious and decisive action. We are no longer going to run away from our problems. We are no longer going to hide in instant gratification and mindless distractions. This process is essentially going to shine a light on your soul and on your entire life as a whole, showing you things you didn't realize before, bringing up emotions you forgot in order for you to process them. I promise these 7 days are going to be like anything else you've ever experienced, and it's going to be extremely hard. I followed this protocol last year, this exact one. I even had some more rules on top of it, and truthfully, it was so hard to get through all 7 days. On day 5, I found myself just angry, just frustrated and mad for no reason. So many emotions were rising up from my past, and I was forced to process them. There was nowhere I could run. There was nothing I could do to distract my mind. And ultimately, I saw a new level of reality. I was able to analyze my thoughts and actions and truly see myself from a third perspective. I promise the value you're going to gain through these 7 days will exceed any expectation you have for the process. The beauty about dopamine detoxes is that you don't have to do this forever. You don't even have to do this for a long time. It's 1 week out of your entire life. You just need to accomplish this hard reset in order to break free from the past and consciously create a meaningful future moving forward. And then you're done. You don't need to follow this protocol forever, because now moving forward into the future, you're going to have this understanding to help you navigate correctly through the actual decisions you want to make. You will no longer fall into unconscious pattern, habits, and actions, but if you do, you can just do a simple dopamine detox again. It is healthy to do these 1 or 2 times a year, just depending on whenever you need it. And if this exact protocol seems too challenging, you can do this for a 3 to 5 day time period, or you can do a full 7-day period with less rules and slowly work your way into doing a full 7-day dopamine detox with my exact protocol. You're welcome to go at your own pace, but I promise you, if you have the courage to jump into the deep end and do the full 7-day protocol, I promise it'll open your eyes in a way you could never imagine. And it's ultimately worth all the pain and struggle of jumping into the deep end. Now, since you have to read 10 pages a day, this is the perfect time to pick up the book, The Kabbalion, that I mentioned before, as well as the book, The Science of Getting Rich. You need to finish these 2 books before anything. I ultimately have a list of like 30 books I can recommend you guys, but it's extremely important to get to the other books when you're ready for them. Before we end this video, I want to quickly reiterate how powerful this process is. Dopamine is quite literally the most powerful and potent form of motivation that exists on the planet. And I'll show you how through a little example. Think of your consciousness, think of yourself as a little surfer out in the ocean. Now think of dopamine as a massive wave, essentially an unlimited source of power. Previously, this immense power, this huge wave, was driving us in the wrong direction, forcing us into our comfort zone, and it was directing us towards that path to hell through instant gratification, addiction, and endless consumption. But now that we have changed the direction that this navigational chemical is pointing, we literally have an unlimited source of power behind us to take us absolutely anywhere we want to go in life. All we have to do is ride that wave, choosing the direction we want to travel. This wave will never die. All you have to do is keep riding it. Once you accomplish this dopamine detox, it's important to give yourself a pretty large reward. Like we said in the first video, it's extremely important to celebrate your successes. And this is a huge success, a major win for your long-term growth and self-improvement. Make sure you treat yourself, but you need to be careful. There's only one rule with that. You can't reward yourself with allowing yourself to do negative habits. Here is a perfect example. I just finished my dopamine detox, so now I'm gonna watch porn and smoke weed again. This literally just puts you back in the circle of self-sabotage, taking you further away from your dreams and changing that navigational chemical to point back in the direction we just worked so hard to change. You need to reward yourself with things that bring you closer to the person you want to become. We need to think of our future self as a millionaire that's accomplished all of these goals. How would that person reward themselves for tasks they accomplish? They'd probably go buy something nice, go on a very nice vacation, get some new clothes, go to a fancy dinner, help out the people they love. love, treat yourself to things like this. Even if it might be a little bit hard on the budget, reward yourself by showing yourself what wealth looks like. Live a day in the wealthy man's life. Go to a fancy dinner, get some new clothes, go look at new cars, go look at new houses. Just be in the environment of these things. Reward yourself in ways that will make you feel proud of yourself at the end. Reward yourself with actions that resonate with your newfound identity. And lastly, we'll leave you off with our action steps. Number 1, begin your dopamine detox protocol. Go make a post in the community group with your exact protocol, the amount of days you're doing it, and the exact day you're starting. Once you finish this protocol, come revisit your post and let us know what you learned and what you experienced. Number 2, read The Kabbalion and The Science of Getting Rich. Little tip, I like to order the book on Audible and have a physical copy so I can listen to it as I'm following along. And number 3, get ready to finally jump into module 2 and start our journey into e-commerce. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the second module. I have put an ungodly amount of work into organizing this and perfecting it, and I'm quite the perfectionist, so I can quite confidently say that this is one of the best things I've ever made and something that I am the most proud of. This course means a lot to me, and this community means the world to me. I truly understand my duty to you guys, and I can promise you it's the highest priority in my mind to make sure you have an absolutely amazing experience going through this course, being a part of our community. And in the end of the day, everything that I do is to provide value to you guys. Seeing you guys grow gives me the most fulfillment I could ever imagine. It's very deeply aligned with my purpose, with my soul, and something that I just truly enjoy doing. Teaching and seeing people grow is one of the most fulfilling things I can imagine. So with all that being said, let's go over what I'm talking about in today's video. Today, we'll be diving deep into one of my TikTok stores that's had some pretty notable success. This store was operated solely through TikTok. I'm going to be breaking down basically everything you guys could want to know: the products, the ads, the website, how I found the product, and everything along those lines. I started this store basically at the exact same time that TikTok ads were born. So this store was where I learned everything. This is the store where I tested everything and really found the strategies that work for me today. So without further ado, let's dive in. Alrighty boys, welcome into the back end of my first TikTok store. So I believe this is the first time we've gone into the computer together. No webcam, no fancy studio setup. So in this video, I wanted to be more candid and relaxed and basically just break down my store, show you guys anything and everything you might want to know, anything you might need to know, so you can replicate these successes on TikTok yourself. So this store was done solely through TikTok. Looks like we started around August. Yeah, August, September-ish. First month, I like 30K in sales. Yeah, we had some really big instant successes. If you take 2 seconds to look at the graph, you can see there's a lot of issues, a lot of big tanks in sales, huge explosions, big tanks, and I'll really dive into everything. Our average sessions was a little bit more. Usually want to see sales higher than this number. Customer rate returning was pretty decent. I'll also be going over my biggest Facebook store that I had and showing you guys literally all the analytics and everything for that. And so it'll be interesting to see how the numbers compare and contrast. But yeah, 1.43% returning, 2.26 conversion rate. I believe that's pretty standard. Average order value is 34, but we bumped it up here at the end, and I'll talk about how I did that. Had almost 20,000 orders here. You can see the personalized necklace was the top product, and we'll get into the whole website. Almost 99% traffic on mobile. I'm guessing the desktop people saw our TikTok ads and then came in later on the computer. They opened an email